E3 has been canceled for 2022 with the hopes of coming back reinvigorated, but the real question is, should it come back? E3 has been a staple in the gaming industry since 1995, and since that time, a lot of stuff has actually changed. Hell, even since, 2019, things have really been changing because of the pandemic and probably eventually endemic. But E3 has been canceled for 2022 with the hopes of coming back in 2023, but really in reality, should E3 come back at all? At least in its current form, and in my personal opinion, no, I don't believe it should be coming back. But let me go over the top 3 reasons why I feel this way. Now the last, and to be fair, only time that I've been to E3 was clear back in 2005. I was playing The Matrix Online and a group of us decided to create a music streaming service for the game and subsequent games as we started to create a business. But that was when Radio Free Zion was born, and it was an awesome time, at least professionally, not so much personally, because personally it was a hot mess. But we were working with the developers to create an in-game music streaming option to increase player engagement. We were also working with Warner Brothers on ways to improve the game and overall retention of the players that were there. Because of the work we were doing, we actually got invited to E3. Between the conference floor, the booze, the closed doors, after parties, and everything in between, it was an awesome experience for a group of people that weren't journalists or media professionals, but really enjoyed gaming and wanted to see it succeed. We even had a chance to rub elbows with a lot of the early folks over at IGN, and we ended up meeting up with them over at the Brass Monkey in downtown LA, and that's really all I remember about that night. Now, 2005 was no slouch when it came to really great games. You had different games like Psychonauts, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, which I still miss Splinter Cell, I hope that's coming back sometime this decade. You had Call of Duty 2, way back in the day. You had Battlefield 2, Jade Empire from BioWare, which I really did enjoy that game. You had Shadow of the Colossus, you had Fear, you have God of War, and the list really does go on. Now, being able to experience E3 in this way was an amazing experience, and knowing that I have a fondness for it, at least not having gone there like multiple years like many other people, I love watching it every single year since then, but I don't feel it should continue, at least in its current form.
This is my Xbox 360. It's here and it's on.
So the first reason I think E3 really shouldn't come back, at least in its current form, is that it's a very antiquated way to go about things. You're looking at E3 originally started in 1995. For the most part, at least up until the last few years, it was relatively the same. They allowed people that were more consumer friendly to come into the conference and not have it just for industry professionals, but you're still running into the same kind of issue where it's just more of the same. You have companies like Nintendo, Sony, EA, they're all able to go and create a digital experience for the consumer where they don't need to go through EA or E3 anymore. So it really ends up becoming a value proposition problem where E3 needs those companies, but the companies don't need E3 like they used to.
Now, the great thing about Xbox 360 is the experience. Right here, you hit the Xbox Guide button, and you launch the user interface for the HD era.
The second reason I think E3 is just very antiquated and needs to really reinvent itself is the Game Awards has potential, but not in its current form. And what I mean by that is, please, God, don't let the Game Awards be another 3.5 endeavor where more than half of it is just one gigantic ad. Now, I totally get that the program does have to fund itself, and sponsorship and ads is a way that it goes about doing that, but there has to be a better way where you're not having to spend a 3.5 hour chunk of time, which majority of it, in my personal opinion, felt completely wasted, but you're also looking at it from an antiquated standpoint where it's very much like the Oscars. It's still very critic driven. The voice of the consumer is technically in there. You're also looking at it from a perspective of the Oscars where only 3% of the population actually watches that program. Now, unless you have something that is along the lines of a slap heard around the world to increase overall engagement.
Nice one, okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow.
You're gonna run into problems. Now, having a third-party program that goes through and really curates and generates a lot of buzz around this is a great idea, so long as that the outcome, each party has a vested interest in it. And what I mean by that is if you have the Game Awards and you have all the different publishers and developers and all these different folks in the gaming industry, each party has to benefit from this program being put on. So there has to be a vested interest to do one with the other.
Believe it or not, I'm a big fan of yours. For instance, I know that you're a 5-time WWF champion, not to mention one of the top entertainers in the world.
And the third reason I think E3 really needs to hang up the gloves is because it introduces a barrier between the game companies and the consumers that are going to be playing these games. Now, a prime example of this would be Battlefield 2042. All of the changes that EA and DICE made to this particular game could have been avoided if they brought in people earlier in the dev cycle and started to get input more directly from the consumer. Instead, what we got was a company that spent all this time and resource, and then they made a hype trailer for E3, went ahead and released it during E3. It looked amazing. I was excited for the game. And then you got it in your hands and it was a hot mess. Now, these trailers can provide a lot of hype. It does get people in that hype cycle for the holiday season, but coming at this more from a product management perspective, I'm thinking in terms of if we're going to spend $300 million on a video game, we want to de-risk as much as humanly possible. And to do that, going directly to the people that are going to be playing this game and asking them, hey, we're going to be making these potential changes. What are your thoughts? And E3 doesn't provide a very good environment for that to happen.
Since the launch of Xbox One, we've listened to you, the community of Xbox gamers, and we're grateful for your continued feedback.
Now, those are the three reasons I feel that E3 really should hang up the gloves. But E3 is canceled for 2022, and I do feel that's a very good thing. It allows the various gaming companies to go directly to the consumer, very digital means, which has been more commonplace now. It also allows you to where we don't need an E3 every single year. We don't need another Call of Duty every single year or a new Madden. You can only iterate so much over the course of a single year. This is something, again, is just creating more barriers for consumers to engage with the products. Now, you're still going to end up having the Game Awards, you have Summerfest coming up, you have Gamescom, PAX, South by Southwest. Insert whatever game convention you want here. E3 used to be the big one each year for the gaming industry, and it's gotten to a point to where it's now become its own footnote in the gaming industry, and that really needs to change. And it really needs to change how it approaches the gaming industry and really pulls in everybody to make it A, more inclusive, but B, that there's a value proposition for people to actually attend this thing. We really need a conference that is going to push the boundaries and is going to push the innovation forward and is going to be anticipating the changes of the gaming industry. As Wayne Gretzky said, I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where the puck is going to be, and that's what E3 needs to be if it's going to be successful moving forward. I feel E3 being canceled is a great thing. I hope it does come back better and reinvigorate in 2023, but only time will tell. But now I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on E3 being canceled in 2022? How can it improve and how can it be a better conference as it comes back next year? Make sure to put that in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.